Welcome back to another edition to the Root to Rising podcast. I am your host, Christine Hummel, and I have a returning guest with us today, Rory Latoria, who previously was one of my guests I interviewed a few months ago. And during the interview, if some can remember, she actually asked me if I could be interviewed by her. So this is part 2 of Rory's interview, and she will be interviewing me today to go a little bit deeper and to get to know me on this podcast. As a reminder, this podcast is for women to share their stories, to share their knowledge and experiences for other women to learn and grow. So Rory, I'll toss it over to you as the interviewer for today's podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. This is what got me through the week, first off, let me just say. So I'm thrilled. And this has just been a fun thing too, because Christine, I see you do have your coffee. I have mine as well.
We have a Christine coffee chat.
Christine coffee chat. I did make matcha today, but it's all that we're getting our caffeine this morning, Friday morning. So I'm thrilled to be back. I'm thrilled to get, into a little bit more about you, because I feel like you've interviewed so many impressive women so far, and it's kind of cool that, you yourself are an impressive woman, so why not flip it back and let's get to know Christine a little bit more too. So if you're ready, we can jump in.
I'm ready. Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So I think it'd be helpful just before we get into present day Christine, if we can rewind just a little bit and get to know you better as Christine, for the life that you had previously of current career Christine. So can you kind of take us back to Christine in college? What was she like? Where did she go? What did she study?
Yeah, so from a personality perspective, believe it or not, I'm not very different. So personality-wise, and I do believe that people have innate characteristics that you're born with. And I do believe that you then have your environment, people, culture, religion, anything that goes on top of that to expand or decrease your innate characteristics. So that's kind of my fundamental beliefs. I have always been a strong personality. I've always been confident, independent, and I've always more of a leader than a follower. I never like to follow and do things just because someone else was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I do think it's part of just an innate characteristic I've always had. So in college, I was very much seeking an opportunity to do something different. So I went to a college within Illinois where I grew up, but I went to Eastern Illinois University. Why I went there, I have no idea. I visited the campus. It seemed like a lovely campus. I liked the people. At the time, I wanted to be a journalism major, so they had a really good journalism program. And then when I went there, I was with a friend of mine who was in high school, and she was rushing to be in a sorority. And so I said, okay, well, let's check this out. I had no idea what sorority was like or life was like. And so I did it. And through the process, I met some cool and interesting people and had some good conversations. So I joined a sorority. At that moment, I probably felt like I was doing it because everyone else was doing it, and I don't necessarily knew why I was doing it. So my freshman year, I was a part of sorority, and I was in it for 2 months. And I remember sitting in this gymnasium singing choir, which I don't like to sing, and I have a god-awful voice. I am literally tone deaf. So I'm on a Saturday afternoon when it's beautiful and sunny outside, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing sitting here? And I was wearing a skirt, and I hate wearing skirts.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing all these things that I don't like to do, and I'm getting no return of energy on this. So the next day I walked into the sorority house, and I, whatever you call it, de-pledged or whatever, and I removed myself from it. They were in shock. And I said, it's nothing personal. It's just not for me. I don't like the group fun, the forced group activities. I get the community, and some people may need that, but it wasn't for me. So from there, my freshman year, I quickly learned I have to do what I need to do in order to enjoy my college experience. So I joined the journalism club. I became very active in working out. So I became, back then, aerobics instructor. And I always loved fitness, and that's where my motivation came from. So I went back there. So I was in college there at Eastern for 2 years. I was challenged, but not challenged enough in terms of the academics there, and I really wanted to go to a more challenging school. So I transferred to Loyola University downtown Chicago, which the requirements to get in were a little bit more significant. And I definitely probably one semester in Loyola was equal to my 2 years at Eastern. Again, not right or wrong, just different experiences for where I was at that moment in time.
Yeah.
So I finished my 2 years at Loyola. I had a communication degree. I love words and talking and authentic conversations and just reading and understanding how and why people communicate. So that's why I did it. Did I
I
have
mean, can
any?
you just pause right there? That's
Yeah,
crazy that now you doing this
yeah,
podcast, it
yeah.
makes total sense. Okay.
But I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, right?
Yeah.
I knew I loved the conversation. I love words, like every word. I love greeting cards. Like words to me are so intentional and meaningful. So I went with it. I didn't know how I was going to get a job. I did have a minor also in women's studies because I'm very passionate about equality for all, not so much that, women need to have special attention, but every individual, no matter where they're at, who they are at, should have an individual respect. So minor in women's studies. And then I graduated and got my first job out of college. So it's a very basic story. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was okay with that. I kind of
Yeah.
was okay with figuring out along the way.
Yeah. And I'll just say, sure, maybe you think of it as basic and the standard, college thing, but even just like the fact that you plucked yourself out of an environment that wasn't exactly challenging you at that point in time enough and made a leap to something else that's also unknown, like that to me isn't really basic. I don't know a lot of,
Mm.
I know people transfer a lot and that's common, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's the norm. So that's just kind of, it's cool that to see that thread has kind of, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
something that you grew into, and as an adult, you always kind of had it.
Yep. And that challenge, I always need a challenge and I know that. So when I feel stale, I can feel myself getting like my mood shifts and I feel like I'm not sad, I'm just kind of there. I
Yeah.
plateau and then that's at the point in the time I know I have to pivot and up my game. And
Right.
that's what happened to me in college. People thought I was crazy, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like this is what I feel like I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you're not one to just like settle into something, which is adamant
Right.
to or clear from the sorority thing too. Most people, myself included, I was very much I share in the what am I doing here? I don't really know.
Yeah.
No, a lot of stuff isn't really me, but like I just stayed in it for like all
Yeah.
4 years now, and you were like, okay, I noticed this isn't me. I'm gonna change it now, which is very cool. So, okay.
I'm a very impatient person in a good
Yeah,
way. I don't
right.
wait long to make a decision. I just kind of make it and move on.
Yeah. No turning back. It's how probably you've gotten as far along as you have so far too, so very cool. So then, okay, fast forwarding now, because you said journalism, and
Mhm.
communications. So is that when you graduated, is that kind of now what you're doing, or how did that come to fruition?
Right. So my first job out of college was more about just getting into a company that I could learn and grow from. I
Mhm.
applied to an administrative assistant to an executive of a private company. It was a paper company. The job was more about starting from the ground, learning more, working for directly the CEO. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. Back in the day, you look at a newspaper ad, we didn't have websites or anything.
Mhm.
We didn't have different social media. So I looked in the paper, I found this really cool company and I applied and I was an administrative assistant. I did all the expenses for this great CEO, Andrew McKenna, who was a very dominant figure in the Chicago area. Learned a ton from being part of his office. So I saw the people coming in and out. I learned how he operates as a leader. He would get into the office every day, by 6 a.m. He'd work out at 4 a.m. Back in the day when you're 20 something, I'm like, holy crap, this guy gets up at 4 to work out. And now I get up at 4 to work out,
Yeah.
right? So you just learn from a mentor perspective. He was probably my first mentor in more of the company setting and the leadership setting where I created some of my own habits. And I just saw his ways of working, how he built relationships, how he led himself through his employees. And then through that company, I just grew. I became an account manager. and I handled some of the customers, and then I asked them to put me into sales. So I was
Mhm.
20 something, and I had the territories of the South. I had Oklahoma and Arkansas and Texas and these states. And I used to travel. I had to print out a MapQuest map
Oh
where
my
I
God.
was going, and I would have to follow it from point A to B. I had all these paper companies I was selling different types of paper to. And women in a paper industry, that doesn't
Mhm.
happen. Like, it's in the places I were going, it's like a
Oh my God.
manufacturing plant, right? Like, they're making something. So here I am, 20 something, there's the really no phones, I think, but it was like in a bag back then. So it was eye-opening, but I was determined. Like, I wanted to be successful in every role that I was at. So I didn't put blinders on to how what was around me, but I just wanted to be successful. So I just did what I
Mhm.
needed to do. And then from that, I realized I loved the sales part. I loved the external communication. But selling paper, to me, I needed something more. I was still driven towards fitness and health. And so I saw another newspaper ad. I'm always constantly looking, not for another job that I'm going to take it, but just that market intelligence. So I saw an ad for, at the time, Merck Pharmaceuticals. They were hiring a pharmaceutical rep. I applied, went through an interview process, and got the job there. And for me, that combined the clinical, the health, and the communication part of it. So for me, it was a perfect fit. Went through a vigorous 12-week training class where you stay in like this academy in Philadelphia and you just have a crash course of, clinical basic knowledge. So that's probably my fundamental clinical knowledge that I have that carries me through, what I do today. And I've been in healthcare ever since. I found quickly that the healthcare segment and market was my motivator, was for me. And so I've just taken that healthcare passion and I've evolved within that industry in different roles, different companies since then.
Wow. Okay. I do see now how these things like it comes a little full circle, and it's all really cool that it's all dealing with what you've always been interested in, which I feel like a lot of people in their career, they're not doing something that they're interested in. So having you have like that awareness to keep your eyes open, that ability to absorb and keep learning, even if it's not exactly what you thought and
Mhm.
wanted to do at this paper company, for instance, at the start, it's like it leads you into where you're meant to be.
Exactly. And there's always a checkpoint that I felt, and I guess you could call it gut instinct, where I felt like I'm good, I'm getting energy, I'm
Mhm.
growing, I'm learning, I like what I'm doing versus I'm getting up every day. It's hard for me to like get motivated to do my job.
Yeah.
I always feel it's not a balance. It's
Mhm.
it's just a different kind of motivation, and when I get stuck, I know it's time to do something different. And so
Oh,
at that time, I'll, either talk to people in my network, I'll start meeting new people, and I'll start looking at other jobs. Again, not that I'm going to go to a new job, but just seeing what
right.
else is out there to continue to evolve. Or maybe I'll pick up a new personal habit, like try a new fitness studio or something
Mhm.
basic, but I know that there needs to be something that I do differently that'll give me energy.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you have to something's gotta change. Because if
Yep,
you keep living that my mom always says this, if you keep living the same life, why would you expect something different to happen, right? So, like,
exactly,
yeah, looking for that change to come in perhaps unexpected places. Yeah.
exactly.
So that kind of actually leads you mentioned your motivators, and I've been ever since we talked that last time, I've been really giving this some thought in my own life. But can you just give like a brief overview for listeners if they haven't listened to that yet? Like what are motivators and then what are your motivators? And we'll kind of get into like how you developed them.
Yeah, so motivators are something that throughout your life you always get energy from or go back to. So they probably start out very young. You don't recognize what they are yet. And so to go back to my previous example of fitness, I always loved moving, fitness. I played basketball, softball. I loved feeling strong. From fitness, I just feel stronger mentally and physically. So I knew for me fitness is my motivator, and I always have kept fitness in my life. So that's an example. It's something that gives you energy and you learn what your motivators are throughout your life. You may not know what they are. If you take my professional life, I've learned along my career journey that I am very motivated by having communications with customers or internal people or leading a team. I get motivated by really authentic, impactful conversations with people. So I learned throughout my career leading people is my motivator, right? That's one of them. And I usually try to pick three professionally. My second one I've learned, and you're not going to recognize this along the way. You might look at your different jobs, your different experiences to reflect why did I do something? And if I look at my last four jobs, I always went into positions where I was doing or building something new and different. And I got motivation by that. So for example, my last four jobs, I had to restructure the teams when I came in. So I love the transformation part. I like not knowing the answers and figuring it out and problem solving. So transformation for me, I recognize probably about 10 years ago, that's my second motivator. And then probably where my third motivator lies is if you follow why I do a lot of the things is I get energy from change. And so for me, and to think of new ways to do something, innovation is my third motivator. So when I can create something new and challenge the current way things have gotten done in the past, I love thinking about new ways of doing something. And so for me, leading people or being part of people to create those authentic conversations is one. Two is transformation, transforming people or building something that was, historically a certain way. And then three is thinking about new ways of doing something. And a lot of times, two and three, transformation and innovation, can be used the same way. But I think that transformation is you're changing the people or the way to make the innovation strategy be
Mm,
implemented. Innovation for me is the process and the idea, and the transformation is actually executing on that. So for me, 10 years ago, I realized those are my three professional motivators, and I've carried those three along into any new opportunity that comes my way to make sure they check that box.
okay. And that, I mean, that breakdown's so helpful because, for instance, I picked up of, okay, well, Christine's always been interested in fitness. Like that has been maybe a core part of her, right? But Christine's motivator isn't necessarily fitness. It's what
Correct.
she gets from fitness. And you can
Correct.
notice that in other places, the connection, the conversation, the like growth of it. And that can come, so that makes it helpful so that I think some people struggle with finding, their perfect job or what's the
Yep.
perfect fit for them, right? And
Yep.
they're trying to look for the title of it maybe or like the
Yep.
category of it. And it's like, no, look for what it pulls out of you.
Yeah. And the first question I ask when I mentor people all the time in my current company or externally, I talk to people all the time. And the first question I ask them is describe to me what you would love to be your most ideal or next role, not in a title and not in a job description with words. Tell me if you thought of your ideal job, what does that look like and sound like? And then they describe it to me. Like, is it a people leadership role? Is it working externally with a customer? Is it looking at analytics? Is it data driven? Like, you have to understand your basic characteristics that motivate you, because if you don't match your skill set for your job, you're going to instantly be unhappy. And so, the first thing I do when I transform a team is I talk to each and every person, and it's open. Tell me what motivates you. Tell me what you want to do. Describe to me what you want to do. I understand their skill set and their motivators. And then I work backwards. I create the role that fits the team so that if they're happier and motivated in their job, they're going to have automatic results that come from that.
Yeah. And my God, I wish most leaders in most companies thought like that way, truly, because
Yeah.
you taking the approach of getting to know the person, getting to know what motivates them, what drives them, if you foster that, it's going to lead to them being happier in their
Yeah.
place and better work. So, and a better team. And it's just it's cool to see like there are people out there in those leadership roles that do think that way because it will get not only the person themselves, but also the group, the company, the organization, whatever it is, so much farther.
And there's There's gonna be people that don't fit in the role. Like, it's not like
Right.
everyone has a space, but that's
Right.
okay because they're in the wrong role for them,
Right.
and
Then
that's
go
not
find the other space.
right, that's not good for the company, and that's not good for them individually. They have to go
Right.
find something that gets the energy, and if it's not in this team or this role, that's okay, and I say that to them. Like, I would never when someone quits or someone tells me they have a new job, I am always excited for them. I always support their personal development because it's not personal when someone quits. It means they're not happy or they need to find something better or more challenging. So I always support personal and professional development and every leader should really support that no matter what because it's not personal. It's up to that person and how they feel in their job every day.
100%. And it's not making sure that the person, like, I'm thinking, okay, if that was me, I think sometimes, people translate that as to, oh, I failed this job. This, that's a
Right.
failure of me, right? And it's like, okay, perhaps if you if you were really bad at your job and you got fired, maybe that would be
Right.
some,
You got to try a little bit.
right. But like if it's just not a fit for you, that's a different thing.
Right.
It's not a failure, it's just a redirection into where you should actually be and where you should put your time and energy towards.
Exactly right.
Okay, let me just keep us moving. I feel like we could talk
Yeah.
genuinely all morning, so I'll keep us on track. So, for when you discovered these motivators for yourself and just like as you have them in your day-to-day life right now, like can you tell the difference when something feels uncomfortable but still connected to what you should be doing and what aligns with your motivators to keep you going versus I guess what I'm asking is how do you tell based on your motivators when something might feel uncomfortable and challenging or when you need to pivot and change what you're doing?
So define uncomfortable and challenging.
Uncomfortable and challenging, meaning, you talk a lot about growth on this podcast of like growth is uncomfortable. And okay, actually, let's start there. So, how do you first know the difference between something being growth or just something being not a fit? I guess.
Right. So the reason I clarified that is I normally don't feel uncomfortable. For me, the words uncomfortable are different than challenge. And so I know I say a lot of times you have to grow but feeling uncomfortable because I do think younger generation women, they don't like to feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm very confident. Now, will I feel plateau?
Why
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah.
Why do you not feel uncomfortable?
I have no idea. Again, I think it goes back to my
Yeah.
innate characteristics. Like I've always been confident. Like I don't care when I walk in the room if there's 300 people and I get up in front of them and speak. It doesn't bother me. I love it. I get energy from people. When I was in college, I didn't care that I left the sorority. Like I don't have a feeling of I don't care what people think. Like it doesn't bother me. So I don't feel uncomfortable. My first job in a male dominated industry, I didn't care that I was the only female on the sales team, and that's carried through. Like I just don't have maybe it's because my perspective of my career and my life journey, it's constantly seen as a growth or an experience that I'm learning from. I don't see it as a you're getting from a point A to a B. I see it as it's just another experience that I'm going to learn from. And I always ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen in this situation if I fail? And it's usually not a big deal. Like
Yeah.
okay, fine. I make it, I say something that's not the best comment and these people don't care either. They're going to move on and forget in 20 seconds, right? So
True.
if you
Yeah.
always think about the worst thing that can happen in any situation you walk into, it's really not that bad. And people are very individualistic. They care about how they feel, they care about themselves, which is human nature. So the uncomfortableness or the anxiety that we put on ourselves, that comes from your own mind.
Yeah.
That's created by nobody else but yourself. That other person in the room is not making you nervous. That other person in the room is not giving you anxiety. It's all in your own mindset that's giving you the anxiety. So if everyone's thinking about how they show up and all about how they feel, like, yeah, is it going to be important that you're impactful and you're having good conversations and you're doing well in your job? Of course, but no one is judging people that much in that moment to say like, "Oh my gosh, this person is awful right now," or they shouldn't be talking. Like 9 times out of 10, you're fine. So
Yeah.
I take that approach, and I can't tell you the last time I felt uncomfortable. And so, because it's not that I don't care. It's just
Right.
that I don't ca I just do what I gotta do because everyone's got their own individual goals. Like, no, I
Right.
don't need to be like everyone, "Oh, is
Mhm.
Christine okay with this?" It doesn't bother me because everyone has their own path. So, your question is, when do I need a challenge and when do I feel like I need to pivot? When I feel stale. When I
Mhm.
feel that I'm not growing, I'm not learning, if I have something that I've conquered and I'm like, okay, what's next in my team or my role? If I don't see or feel that next challenge, because that's my motivator, I like to grow and, transform and innovate. And if I don't see a path to lead to my motivators, I pause and I just understand what I have to do to expose myself to new information to take another step to go back to my motivators. So, long-winded answer, but it's very different for me. But now I say people that feel uncomfortable in the younger generation, they don't like to take risks. They are looking for the perfect path that
Mhm.
gets you from A to B. There is no perfect path. There is no path. It's
Mhm.
just instead of thinking it as a timeline, think of it as just an adventure, and you
Mhm.
have different experiences along the way that add to your innate characteristics that develop you who you are. And it's going to be a different point in time that you need different things to continue to evolve and find out who you want to be and what your next phase of life is. There's no, this has to happen next, then this has to happen next, and this has to happen. Just experience as much as you can, put yourself out there as much as you can, and look at it as an adventure instead of, like a lifetime, a timeline.
I love that because I do feel like, I mean, for I'm 30 right now, right? So I'm a little bit past the college age, but I'm not quite to the,
Hmm.
where you feel like a true adult phase, right? And I think there is something about the age I'm in and perhaps younger as well, like college, post college, we do have this hyper fixation on like time or something and like making the most best use out of our time and making sure it is the right step and stuff. But I love that, easier said than done, of course, but that
Yep.
adventure, mindset with it where it does not need to be the perfect next step. It actually you will gain more probably if it isn't, right? You'll learn
Right.
more experiences, you'll build more confidence and all of that. So what you're saying of and I'm gonna put
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
here, you say a lot to your um interviewees as well, but you say even as a younger version of yourself, you didn't really mind, you didn't really care what other people were doing or thinking, you just did your own thing, and you weren't uncomfortable with that. How did that develop? Because again, easier said than done of I'm sure it does come just with experiences and time of you'll get there, but how can someone if someone wanted to be the same level of confidence and sure of herself that you right now as Christine are, but they wanted to tap into that when they're 20, how do they do that?
So you have to feel comfortable in your motivators. So for me, fitness gives me a lot of confidence.
Mhm.
And that's not for everyone. Maybe music gives someone
Yeah.
confidence. Maybe reading certain kinds of books or theater. I mean, everyone's
Mhm.
different. But if your passion and your love, if you do that regularly, you're going to feel confident. It's going to give you energy. And that confidence carries over to other aspects of your life. When someone doesn't find joy and get joy, they're going to have nothing to give on the other side, and their confidence won't, extrude. So I would say everyone has a different level of confidence, by the way. So, and it's all with where you want to go. So people may come from different cultures and backgrounds, and they have to figure out what kind of confidence they want. But honestly, the confidence it's important, but what the confidence allows you to do, it allows you to take risks. It allows you to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and it allows yourself to grow. So the only reason you need confidence is to allow yourself to do and experience different things. Otherwise, like, yeah, you need it in your job. Of course you do, right? But you can fake it. Like, you don't have
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
always. Again, the only person that controls your confidence is yourself, your own mindset.
Right.
So if you tell yourself you're confident, don't talk yourself out of it. Like,
Yeah.
You don't have to say, "Here's all the reasons I'm not confident." You tell your
Right.
reasons why you are confident. And you're not gonna be perfect, but here's today why I'm gonna show up, and here's why I'm good at what I do, and here's why I'm gonna, be confident in this. And so it's all about how you feel individually, and that only comes if you feel joy and energy from your motivators.
I see the full circle now. Yep. I think people probably look for, speaking for myself, you look for, how do I get more of this quality? I want to be this quality, right? But you can't just say I want to be this
Yep,
quality. You have to do things that
yep,
bring that out of you. So doing your fitness classes, doing your music, doing your theater, whatever it is, that will build that sense of self that then ripples into everything else.
that's right, exactly right.
Love that. There's hope.
We're making it sound really easy, and I don't think it's
We
that
are.
easy.
Of course, it's never that easy, but it also is, it's not something I see. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself. We want instant gratification. I want it now, right? And it's like these things do not happen overnight. They
Yep,
happen after the repetition of you investing time into yourself and building yourself, and
yep.
it's just what you got to do. There's no shortcut.
Yeah, and there's one tangent I'm gonna go on. So if
Thanks.
your comment of why, 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds, are constantly making the most of time and have the next, right? So if you think about women, and I'll focus on just women traditionally have grown over time. If you think about why, we were the caretakers, we stayed home, that's just the way the times were, right? You had to survive. Someone had to go, either if you go way back, right, find the
Mhm.
food. Someone had to care for everything else at home. The strongest person went and found the food. That carried over to the workplace when you're in the early 1900s. That the man went to work, the women continued to stay home, right? So but it's very basic level of survival skills. Like it was food, hunt, live, like survive, right?
Right.
And as we evolve as humans, we're getting so much smarter with the sophistication of knowledge that's around us, right? If you look at books and now social media and the instant need for information all the time, if you think of our brain evolving over all of that time, we're all getting so much smarter in a very expedited
Yeah.
fashion.
And
So what
total.
happens with that is we're still trying to follow the timeline of, and I'll go there. You go to college, right? You go to high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you find your husband, you get married, you then, you buy a house, you have a kid, you raise your kids, they go to college, and it's like cyclical, right? And so,
Right.
but that's been built on a very basic fundamental mode of survival skills. So my
Mhm.
point is, with all this information we have, the access to experiences and different opportunities and different people, instead of looking at it as a timeline approach, then you just look at more as this is an adventure. I'm going to expose myself to what I can, and it's not going to be this perfect timeline, and that's okay. Now, if your motivators are that you want to be a mom and have kids, I'm not
Mhm.
saying don't pencil that out. I get
Yeah.
that because there's a biological aspect to that,
Right.
but it's one of many things, and it doesn't have to be always what's next, what's next, what's next. So I would just say that's what's allowed me to take a pause and look at it more as this is not a timeline. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, I don't care what's going to happen. And I
Mhm.
don't want to try to plan and predict what's going to happen next. I want to leave it open to the opportunity of what can be instead of what should be.
Oh, I'm so happy you went on that tangent. That, yeah, it is just fascinating I mean, now even I'm seeing where your women's studies passion came through too, because
Mhm.
that trajectory is, so it's a mixture of, it is innate, but it's kind of innate because other people put that on us, and that was just kind of what's expected, or the
Yep.
trajectory that it goes, right? And it does come with this underlying tone of pressure all the
Yep.
time, an expectation of what you should do, or what makes sense, or what will be the easiest path and get you farther, right, quote unquote. But if it's not to your core what you want to do and as your motivator, why are you on that? You
Right.
should be on that path.
Right. So if you think about, and again, I'll go back to the only person that can make yourself feel pressure is yourself. You're the
Very
only person that inflicts that mindset on yourself. So take it away, right?
true.
But if you look at the people that are applying that pressure or asking those questions, I guarantee it's most likely an older generation of people or more traditional that,
Right.
again, it's a different knowledge set. They came back, like if the parents or grandparents, they are coming from a very different experience in their life, or a lot of them maybe were, experienced World War II, or a lot of them experienced, a very simple way of living. They're
Right.
coming, look where the question is coming from. And before you put pressure on yourself, understand the why that person is asking you that question or giving you that expectation. Because just because someone says something doesn't mean it's right. It's
Right.
their experience and it's their perspective. And if you don't agree with it, let it go. Move on. You don't
Yeah.
have to take it as a pressure, right? Because
Yeah.
again, they only know what they know. And they're going to say in their opinion and ask you that question based on their own experience.
Yeah. Right, and it might not it's I'm trying to view things as always in an intention of good, right? No one's coming at,
Right.
people on
Exactly.
things with an intention of harm and, to scrutinize you and whatever. It is all based on their experiences,
Yeah.
their life, and that's just different from mine or yours or anyone
Agreed.
else, right? Yeah.
And that's why there's one only person that knows your individual adventure or journey or what you need, and that's you. That's it.
Yep, keep coming back to that. I love that. So that kind of actually you touched on something of just, historically kind of the roles of men and women and how things came to be. So I'm fascinated by this and I'm curious about your thoughts on it as well. So there's kind of no secret that most of the business world is male dominant driven, right? So you as how you came to be yourself today, you got there through your motivators, right? It led you into a world that is majority male, right? Probably a lot of the time. So, have you felt the need or pressure or desire even to kind of in a way fit into that more masculine world and absorb maybe some of the leadership that you saw before you or that you saw got someone farther that is more male, right? Versus do you have any like hesitation to bringing more that feminine side of yourself into the business world and that realm? Do you feel like there has to be kind of like a split between the two?
So I never think of a person or a leader, specific to your question, as
Mhm.
a male or female. I'm agnostic to their gender. I look at it based on their characteristics and their actions. So, for example, you're right, very young, and throughout my career, I've been in a room of males. But when I walk into the literally 20 males and myself, I don't see that. I don't
Mhm.
see 20 males in myself. I see who's the CEO in that room, who's the decision maker, who's the sales lead, who's the smartest person in that room, who's going to be my challenger. I am looking at it more about the people because I think it's a bad preconception for people to say just because they're male, they're going to act this way. Just
Yeah.
because they're female, they're going to act this way. So you can say females are more emotional. I am the most non emotional person there is, and I'm a
Mhm.
female. So
Mhm.
for someone to categorize me like that isn't fair to me.
Yeah.
If there's a male to say he's a male, he's going to be direct and arrogant, but he's the most
Right.
sensitive, caring, emotional male out there, that's not fair to that male. So why do we have to choose or be one or the other? The word shouldn't define us.
Right.
Yourself as an individual and how you show up as a person or a leader, if your example, that's how you should treat people. It's not in the word, by the way, the English language made those words. And now
Yeah.
we're forced to fit into those words instead of eradicate the words and just be who you want to be in a professional, respectful, find whatever how person you want to be in that professional setting or personal setting and just be that person. And then it doesn't matter how you're acting, or a man shouldn't have to worry about, if there's a female flair to this and how he deals with it. A female shouldn't have to change how they act because it's a male. You should show up and how you want to be as an individual.
I love that because I do feel like this, it comes with this tone of separation, right?
Yep,
And
agreed.
I think that that leads to everything wrong with the world, right?
Agreed.
You should just want to connect with people, find, you know, connection in some form. Not saying you have to like everyone and everyone
Agreed.
be friends, but just like it doesn't have to be so black and white, this or that
Agreed.
spread. Yeah.
I agree. And if you think about like the different words in the English language, we do a really good job at separating and having to categorize people, right?
Yes.
You even
Yeah.
go to the politics, Republican, Democrat. Why do we have to pick one? Like,
Yeah.
why does it have to be, and why do it have to all the beliefs fit in one, right? Why
Right.
does it have to be masculinity and femininity? Why can't it just be, an open book and you can do? So I think a lot of times
Mhm.
we are trying to fit into words, or we're trying to overcome words uh, as a barrier, when if you just get rid of the words and act of who you want to be, then everyone, but I agree with your comment. You have to, and most people have to respect everyone. They don't have to love and be
Mhm.
friends with everyone, but you
Mhm.
have to respect everyone. You don't have to agree with everyone. And
Right.
my analogy I give to my team, I manage today a team of 30, and I've managed up to teams of 500. I have zero expectation that everyone likes everyone on this team, that everyone is friends on this team, and everyone, like, you have to get along. That is a false expectation because everyone's an individual and everyone, again, has different motivators. Some people are going to like to dance. Some people are not. Some people like to be extroverts, introvert. It doesn't matter, right? So I say that the team has to be compared to almost like a neighborhood. You live in a neighborhood, you all live in a house, right? You have neighbors, you have to coexist with your neighbors. You're respectful to your neighbors. You watch out if their garbage can blows over. If someone is trying to break into their house, right? You're respectful and kind. But I don't have to be best friends with my neighbor, and I don't have to go to dinner with my neighbor. I don't have to talk to my neighbor. I can say hello, goodbye, but I don't have to be friends. Now, am I friends with some of my neighbors? Yes. Am I going
Mhm.
to be friends with some of my employees and my team? Yes. But it shouldn't be forced, and everyone should respect themselves enough to say, not for me, going to pass. This doesn't meet my motivators. I do not like team dinners that are 3 hours in a dark steakhouse. So I will either not attend if it's a meeting for me, or my team knows I do standing like apps and cocktails. I don't have any sit down dinners for my
Yeah.
team
Mhm.
because I believe in moving. But if I am
Mhm.
invited, I'll go for the appetizer and I'll get up and excuse myself, because for me, that 3 hour dinner is draining
Yeah.
and I don't get energy and I'm not my best version of myself. So I remove myself from that situation. And guess what? I don't have to go to that because everyone knows that and they find a different way to communicate with me.
Yeah. That's like your team sounds really great.
I don't know. I have high expectations for them. I am challenging. Like I do. I always push people to grow. So and if
Yeah.
they don't want to grow, that's okay as long as they're happy. But I'm always challenging people. So that's
But
the
it
hard
sounds
part.
like you're actually like hearing them. You're actually
Yeah.
noticing what they are, who they are, what they like, what they don't like, and you're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You're
Hmm.
just trying to let everyone have the environment to be who they are. You get to know that person. You're not labeling them as this or that, judging them on anything. You're just accepting them as who they are. And then that leads to people actually wanting to be there. So,
Yeah, exactly right.
yeah. Okay, another brilliant tangent. Love that. So, okay, I know we're getting close, I think, towards the
Yeah,
end.
all good.
I I kind of wanted to do, I thought maybe a fun little rapid fire
Sure.
questions for Christine if you're open to it.
Perfect.
Just based on, you've had several episodes at this point and have heard from so many amazing thinkers and people in and of themselves, gotten so much insight into their worlds and what they have to give. So if you could
Mm.
bottle up everything or anything that you feel like is the most helpful for listeners to deliver to them, what would that be?
The two common things that I've heard from most of my podcast interviews that come from women, no matter what the generation, are take risks and be curious. And it sounds basic, but unfortunately, a lot of the stories that we're told, there is a little bit of regret. There's a little bit of, if I could go back, I would have done this. And so when I say take risks and be curious, again, it's about the adventure. Seek it, find it. And you don't have to do it forever. If it's not for you, then pivot again, right? So it's hard for me to hear a story about a woman that had an opportunity and she didn't take it because of the pressure or because of the expectation or the culture or the religion. It breaks my heart. That's the hardest things that I hear when I interview people. And so what I would tell listeners, especially the younger generation, is be curious and take the risks and don't be afraid of what could happen. Be more afraid of what can't happen if you
Yeah.
don't take that risk.
Oh my God, I love that. That just personally, I've been, life's a little crazy at the moment, and I'm noticing my mind's going a lot of to the fear of uncertainty.
Yep.
And I was talking with my mom the other day of like, okay, why do we only think about that? Why don't we think of also the joy of uncertainty? Like that's
Embrace it. How
yeah,
fun.
happens. Like it's
How fun.
the point, dare I
Yeah.
say. Like, yeah.
How boring if you knew it was gonna happen next all the time. Like, how
Yes.
boring, right?
Oh my God, yeah. No. Okay, I love that. I'm gonna keep those 2 things with me of take risks, be curious, take risks, be curious. Okay, another one. What's
Yep.
something you're actively working on? Anything in your
Mm.
life. Can be career related, professionally related, or not at all.
Actively working on to be more patient.
Okay.
Um, so, I'm 51. I'm at a point, my kids are older, they're very independent, graduated college, in college, a junior. They're very on the path to finding their own adventure, right? Um, I'm a very, I'm stable in my work environment. Again, will I continue to grow and work 100%?
Mhm.
I love the podcast. It gives me energy, but in patience, probably in my current relationship. So I want everything to go quickly because I don't want to miss out on everything. And I am who I am. And so just being more patient, like with my current partner or being patient with people to listen. I listen, but I just need to give people a pause because sometimes people can't move as fast as I am and people are different. I make a quick decision and I move and I want to go, go, go. And so am I at the point in my life where maybe I don't always have to go? I don't always have to go to the next. Can I have a pause for a month and maybe be more of a supporter or be more of a do something for myself self help wise? Like I never for me to get a massage, I have to be on a vacation or I have to be like I'm stressed out to get a massage. Like I don't just proactively do that. So am I at a point that I can be more patient with myself or do I feel like if I am more patient, am I going to miss something? So I guess I'm working on how to be okay that I'm not always having to do something and on to the next.
What a great thing to work on, honestly, just for at any point in your life and forever. Like patience is I required, and also, as you were just saying that, I'm kind of thinking of, you talk about a way to find, let's say, confidence in yourself and more of a sense of self is to do things that, other areas of your life where that comes out more easily,
Yep.
right? Fitness classes, you get confidence and then you could go into your meetings, right? But if you were to take that same concept and apply it of like, okay, I'm giving Christine patience and care and slowness, think how that would then ripple into the other areas of your life to get that much farther. Like
Yep.
go slower to get farther, you know?
Yep. Exactly.
Love that. Okay, I'm gonna be rooting for you. I'm gonna check in if you got that massage. So, okay, next one, 2 more really quick. Just root to rising, this podcast. What do you I know you're so excited about it. I know this gives you energy in life. So, what are your dreams with it or directions
Mm.
that you're excited to get into and explore?
So my dreams would be that this platform takes off and becomes, common nomenclature for any woman looking to help with their journey, and that I could do this all day, every day. So, and
Yeah.
it comes in different formats. Maybe it's not a
Mhm.
podcast. Maybe it's a mentoring, coaching opportunity. It comes in different flavors as, public speaking platform, and so different ways that this could branch out and impact women, that gives them more strength, confidence, and to be able to grow across, along their adventure. So I would love if, this eventually continued to evolve. And again, it's not because I want it to be successful, to be a successful podcast. It's the
Mhm.
impact that it's going to make on women. So I would say that's my goal. And different things I want to do with it, though, is hear different people's perspectives. So how do I continue to get a diverse group of women? And now do I start including men
Yeah.
as an interview? Like, is it fair always to have a one-sided question
Yeah.
um, answer from a female perspective? So how do I continue to challenge myself to have diversity of the people I interview? And then how do I bring it to the next level of conversation?
Oh, I love that. Amazing. I'm so excited to see just even a year, like a year's time. What is this? March 6th,
Yeah.
27, what will be happening by then? Big, big things. I'm excited.
Well, there's one more special announcement that we'll touch on, is that and also the willingness to hear different people's
Mhm.
perspective and be diverse. I do think it's important for different people to ask the question. So today,
Nice.
with Rory interviewing me, Rory will be a special co-host with me whenever she has the time to use this platform and interview whomever she wants and have those intentional conversations to have people learn. So, Rory, that'll be part of the next phase of to Rising, is to diversify the people asking the questions.
Uh, I'm just cannot wait. Everything you're speaking to, if it gives you life and energy, it's so shared, it's so mutual. So yeah, this is gonna be, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Good. I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, just one last question, just
Yeah.
because I'm curious. Always curious why people name things the way they do. Maybe it's a shared of your love for words. I have curiosity with it too. So why did you name this Roots Rising?
So, funny story. I love nature and
Mm.
I wanted something that had growth in the title. And so I had a discussion. My daughter was part of it, Ellie. So, she was one of the first podcasts I had. And really, the reason that I created this is because I was talking to her friends throughout middle school, high school, college, and always I started hearing the same advice I was giving over and over again to her friends. And when I went for college visits, it was just like constant people asking questions. So I'm like, how can I go broader on this and scale it to have more people hear it? And
Mhm.
so she was in the room with me helping make decisions. And then my partner was with me too. And we were just brainstorming, and I also love yoga. So I love to rising, to rise. So, and then I saw this image as I was on ChatGPT, the
Mhm.
image that's our symbol for root to rising. It has all the roots that are
Yeah.
really the fundamental for me, the motivators and who you are. And then how can you grow into your tree? So, and tree pose is my favorite yoga pose, by the way. I feel the
Oh,
strongest. I
God.
feel the strongest at tree pose when you're totally upright and
Yes.
using every single muscle from your core.
And you're
Yes.
rooted.
Yes, and you're rooted, but you also it gives you the ability to grow and rise.
Yeah.
That's how we came up with Rising.
Brilliant. I love it. I'm so I'm so aligned with it. Very cool. Well,
So,
thank you. This
you're
is
welcome.
so fun, like,
It's been
the
so
best
fun.
start to a Friday morning. I hope we each gave each other some energy.
We did. And what do we expect? What can we tell the listeners to expect? And what are you thinking about when you think about your first interview or your interviews that you want to bring to the Root to Rising platform?
Well, it's funny actually, as you were saying of different perspectives, different, interests and stuff. I think I am very interested in what I'm interested in, right? A lot of health and wellness and mindset things. And I've always been curious of some type of platform like this where I can get into conversations like that. But I also think you can learn a lot from things you know absolutely nothing
Yep.
about and worlds you know nothing about. And so I'm kind of excited to, like, you know, get my fix of the things that I want to learn more about, but also the things I have no idea that are out there. And kind of back to your, it's an adventure type mentality. I'm like, okay, we'll go on an adventure here and see what I can learn. And that's going to get me, probably some amazing place in life. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Can't wait.
a lot. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rory, for interviewing me today. So, as a reminder, this is Christine Hummel with Rich Rising Podcast. Thanks for Rory Latoria for the interview today. And up and coming, Rory will be a special co-host to Rich Rising, having her own individual interviews throughout different points of the month. So, this is a reminder that this is a platform for women to learn about their other people's stories, gain confidence, knowledge, and find their own purpose. So, thanks, Rory.
Thank you, Christine.